Hi there guys, Luis from Vintage Action. I hope you guys are all well. And today guys, I'm bringing you a all-time favorite from 1993. Only the Strong, starring the legendary Mark Dacascos, Paco Prietoi, Jeffrey Lewis, directed by the legendary Sheldon Lettich that gave us Lionheart, Double Impact with Van Damme, The Perfect Target with Daniel Bernhardt, Hard Cops, The Order with Van Damme. He directed a lot of Van Damme movies. And this one here, right, guys, let me tell you, if I have to do a top 10 of the best 10 martial art movies from the 90s, 100% this one will be on that list. If I have to do a top 20 of all time, the best martial art movies of all time, this probably would be on that top 20 as well. This was always one of my favorites growing up. I had the VHS. I watched the VHS like countless times growing up. Definitely one of my all-time favorites. In my opinion, this movie has like a great positive message. There's a positive story. The story was intense, inspirational, dramatic. This one basically, guys, is the only Hollywood movie that basically showcases the martial art like capoeira, a Brazilian martial art, Afro-Brazilian martial art that basically is showcased from beginning to end in this movie, and you have never seen it like before this movie or after this movie. Obviously, by the time this was released in 93, we have a lot of movies about karate, kung fu, kickboxing, Muay Thai, you name it. But no one knew anything about capoeira, this Brazilian martial arts that mixes with dance, and no one knew about it. And in that matter, this movie was groundbreaking. If you mix that with the message, all the great martial artists involved in this movie, Dacascos, Paco Prietoi, that, let me tell you, this guy right here, in my opinion, and I don't understand why, you guys let me know if you guys agree, he could have been one of the greatest villains in these action B movies because he had like a great presence, intimidating like a presence, yeah, that aura, that charisma, you know, like a big guy, a great martial artist. And incredibly, he was not in many movies. He's the guy that fights like Van Damme in Lionheart, in that swimming pool fight scene. He's in Jungle Law with Jeff Wincott. He plays the bad guy. And obviously, in this movie, he was amazing, playing Silverio Oliveiras. And he's like one of the reasons this movie is so great, in my opinion. Obviously, Dacascos was young. It was on top of his game. But one of the reasons, in my opinion, this movie is so great, it's because of the imposing presence, the charisma of Paco Prietoi that plays a great villain in this movie. And again, unfortunately, he was not in many movies in the 90s. Mexican actor, great martial artist. He was in Champions as well with Ken Shamrock. But minor roles. This movie, you can even say him being like the opposite, like to Dacascos, that was the main star of this movie, was his main role in the Hollywood movies for Paco Prietoi, that in my opinion was super always underrated, and is an actor that a lot of people don't talk about. But you know, he had like a great presence, a great physique, a great martial artist that he could have been used in a different like matter. And I don't understand why, you know, directors, even these big action movies, he was not invited like to be in more of these movies. He could have had like big roles, even in big movies, like big budget. I mean, it was amazing playing the villain. So basically, this one was written by Sheldon Lettich and Luis Estevan. The producer was Samuel Adida. That is a guy that worked in Crying Freeman as well with Dacascos. In Resident Evil, he produced a lot of Van Damme movies like Legionnaire, like Inferno as well. And again, when it comes to this movie, you see Dacascos plays like Louis Stevens, that is basically the ex special forces soldier, Green Beret, that was in Brazil for like 4 years. His mission was terminated, and then he wants to come back to Miami, to his hometown, and he visits the high school where he studied, where he grew up, and he meets like he re-encounters like the character played by Jeffrey Lewis, that is a teacher. He sees like his former like love interest like in the when he was a teenager, and basically he goes there just to see the people he grew up with in Miami, his neighborhood. But the problem is he was not expecting that the school he studied, he grew up, is now like overrun by drugs and violence. Basically, you have like super disrespectful, insolent, like violent kids that are consuming drugs. And basically, the day that he gets there, is like Dacascos is going to be involved in a fight because he sees Jeffrey Anderson Gunter, the Jamaican actor that you might know from Mark for Death, like Maniac Cop 3. He plays a Jamaican here, and you have a scene in the playground that is beating up his brother because his brother is not selling drugs. He's one of the teenagers there in the movie, and obviously Dacascos is not going to accept well to see like a guy beating up like his young brother, a student from the school, and basically he's fighting Gunter and two of his like guys. Basically, he's a drug dealer, and he's going to beat them up and showcasing his capoeira skills that he got like after being in Brazil for so many years. He perfected those skills, and now he's back to Miami and he's beating up this drug dealer and two of his like goons in front of the brother that was beaten up, and you have all the school cheering for Dacascos. And after that, basically, you see like Jeffrey Lewis, the old Dacasco teacher, like going crazy and seeing that everyone like got the attention. Dacascos got everyone's attention fighting this drug dealer, and basically Dacascos had the idea. He pledged that idea to basically Jeffrey Lewis and to the board of the school that he wants to create like a program to rehabilitate basically these students, right? Because they have no purpose in life, basically no hope. They are just consuming drugs and they are in drug gangs. And basically, he's going to propose that to the board. So he wants to teach to pick up like 12 of the most like like violent like kids from the school and teaching them capoeira. He wants to create this program to rehabilitate these like trouble kids, right, and to straight out straight them up, right. And first the board doesn't want it, touch violence to violent kids, but then they are going to end accepting that, and then Dacascos is going to choose 12 kids, and he's going to try to give a new hope, a new purpose to these kids through like the martial art of like capoeira. But the problem is one of those kids, and it's going to be tough because again this is like super like violent, like disrespectful kids. They are not like usually used to accept orders from anyone. They do drugs, but Dacascos thinks that he can help them and he can make them like men, right, and great students, and keep the kids away from the drugs. The problem is one of those students is the cousin, Orlando Oliveiras is the cousin of Paco Cristiano Prieto, that plays Silverio. And basically Silverio is the guy that runs the town now. Is the main kingpin, the main drug like lord, and in the city, and is not going to accept well that Dacascos is like trying to help those kids. and trying to make them like proper man, like not violent, not involved like in drugs. And then you're going to have a clash because Orlando is not into the this capoeira thing that the Cascos is about to teach him. It's super like violent. He works for his cousin Silverio, and you're going to see like the Cascos like clashing with Silverio because Silverio is the one that runs the town, and his cousin works for him. So it's going to be hard to teach these 12 like violent, like super, like indisciplined, like kids, and to turn them to like to be great men's, great martial artists, super respectful, because like Silverio is the one running the town, and Silverio is also a great martial artist, and he plays like a Brazilian in the movie, even though he's Mexican. And I know there is some flaws in this movie because that's one of the reasons when I grew up I like this movie so much, because you guys can imagine there was not many movies where you could listen to Portuguese, hear the Portuguese language, and that's why it was so interesting to me when I watched this one. Obviously, they played Brazilian, so there are a lot of scenes in the movie where they speak Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, obviously, and this is one of the reasons as well, because I had a lot of friends in growing up in Portugal that were Brazilian, and a lot of them like trained capoeira. There's a lot of like capoeira schools in the city I grew up with, so there was that connection, the language. So it was like interesting, nice to see like some people speaking Portuguese, even though I think it does the best, like Paco Prieto, to speak like the language is Spanish, so it's similar to Portuguese. It's not that hard, but sometimes they mix a little bit the Spanish and the Brazilian Portuguese, and some parts of the movie you see guys, some of the bad guys speaking literally Portuguese from Portugal with the Portuguese accent. You see guys speaking the proper as they should in the movie, because they are portraying like Brazilian people. They should speak with Brazilian accent. You see some of the actors, they are actually Brazilian, so they are speaking it correctly. Some you can see speaking the Portuguese European accent, and you see guys literally just trying to speak Portuguese, but you can see they are doing it with the Spanish accent. But that's just details. Even Paco Prieto in the movie, his name in the movie is Silverio Oliveiras, and his cousin is obviously Orlando Oliveiras. Oliveiras, like basically that name, that surname doesn't exist. The right name is Oliveira. That's actually my surname. But at the time there was no internet. Probably they didn't know about it. But that surname is actually incorrect. It's not like that doesn't even exist in the Portuguese language. But that's just like literally like details. And basically, to this movie, you had Joselito Amém Santo, that trained the Cascos. Is like a capoeira like master. Is one of the most like known, respected, like worldwide capoeira masters that he was living in US, and he trained specifically Dacascos for this movie. Obviously, Dacascos was a great martial artist. Is like a great gymnast, so obviously was young, on top of his game. But obviously this was a movie about capoeira, so basically you need to have like the Cascos training capoeira to be believable in the movie, right? And they had like Joselito Amém Santo training the Cascos. Joselito is the guy that you see with the Cascos beginning of the movie when he's in Brazil, and then you see him again in the end of the movie as well. So he trained the Cascos, and he choreographed like all the capoeira fight scenes in a movie. Even though in the final credits you might see the Frank Duke's name popping in the final credits, saying he's one of the fight choreographers. But even Sheldon Lettich said in some interviews that he was not too much involved into the movie. Basically, all the fight choreographed, all the fight scenes were all choreographed by Joselito Ama Santo, that is the capoeira master, right? He's the big capoeira master, and he was the one like literally choreographing like most of the fight scenes throughout the movie. Even though it's funny, like you have Frank Dux, he had like a small role in this in this movie. There is one scene where the Cascos go to this garage when they chop all the cars, right? And he's the welder. He's with the mask on. Obviously, you cannot see it, but is that guy? You see the Cascos fighting him in that specific fight scene. When it comes to this movie, it's a well choreographed action. It's strong, energetic soundtrack. The capoeira soundtrack. It's a really nice soundtrack. I know a lot of people like this movie. One of the reasons a lot of people like this movie is because of the soundtrack, because it's strong. It's like energetic. It's a great soundtrack when it comes to this movie. Obviously, again, this was panned by the critics, literally destroyed when it came out, because I said it's the trouble school formula that you see in many movies, like Dangerous Minds probably is the most famous, but Dangerous Minds, it was after this one. Dangerous Mind is from 95, or like The Substitute as well. Obviously, it's a plot you have seen in other movies before, but again, this one has a great message, this movie, but for some reason the critics said that the message of the movie didn't work out, and it's like it was too much violence involved in this movie. So I do not agree with that, because again, I think the capoeira, the martial art of capoeira, is very cinematic and looks amazing in a movie. Obviously, in real life, in a UFC fight, probably is not the most effective, but they are great athletes, great martial artists. It's a martial art, obviously, but in a movie, capoeira is very cinematic and looks amazing in a movie, and that's why, and the music and everything, that's why this one became like a cult favorite for many people, even though when this was released, it kind of bombed in the box office. It was a failure because even Sheldon Lettich explained some of the reasons. This one has like 6 million like a budget. The box office, it got like 3 million. This was distributed by Fox in US, and it was distributed by Polygram Entertainment, like internationally, worldwide, right? But when it comes to the VHS era, then the DVD after that, it became kind of like a bigger movie, a cult like movie, right? But at the time it was released, and one of the reasons for that, it was like in a way they didn't know enough, like they didn't promote the movie the way they should have, like Sheldon Lettich said. Like Fox at the time, they had like big plans to promote the movie. When they promote the movie, you see posters everywhere, and you see the main stars, giving interviews. But the thing is, that didn't happen. And one of the other problems was, and that's Sheldon Lettich words, it was that Mark Dacascos, at the time this was released, he did also Double Dragon, and Double Dragon was awful, and it was I'm a big fan of Mark Dacascos, and I did have the VHS of Double Dragon, and I never really liked that movie. There is a Blu-ray. I don't even have the Blu-ray, and I think that did hurt the movie, because Double Dragon was not that successful, and it was a little bit like goofy, and Double Dragon not being successful didn't like help when this one was released. So that was one of the reasons. And again, because of that, Fox, they pull out a lot of like the the promotional like events they had to promote the movie, and that's why it didn't like work out in the end, like theatrically, because after that, through the years, it became like a cult favorite. And again, it was kind of big in the VHS era, then the DVD era. And again, The only way you guys can get this one physically, it's like on DVD, because this one is still stuck on DVD. You have this like basically there is no Blu-ray release to this one. Of course, there is a Blu-ray master, a HD master, because this one was in some streaming platforms worldwide. Right now, here in the UK, I don't think this one is on. Is not on Prime. Is not on Netflix. Is not on Plex. Is not on YouTube for free or anything. So there is an issue with the rights. Because even Sheldon Lettich said that in an interview. There is some issues. If in US, probably I think Fox still owns the rights to this one. Good luck, because Fox is not going to be releasing this one anytime soon. So Fox is Disney now. So Disney, they don't even release the big blockbusters, let alone a movie that bombed, that did fail in the box office. Probably they don't even know about like Only the Strong, but I think they were the ones releasing it in the US. So I'm guessing Disney has have the rights because it was a Fox movie, but internationally it was Polygram. So I'm not sure who owns the rights to this one. I don't know. There is a HD master because I have seen it online on HD, but there is no Blu-ray release. So if you guys want to get this one, basically there is a US release by Fox that was released many years ago, even before Disney bought Fox. And you have this Australian DVD that is the one I have here. This is basically the Fox DVD released by LA Entertainment, like I think is the name of the label in Australia. I got this one like a few years ago for like roughly like $6.50 on like eBay. I bought it used, but as you can see, like new. So there is a German DVD as well. There is a French DVD, and the thing is, the French and the German DVD, they both have German-French audio, but they also have the original English audio. The Metropolitan release, the DVD from Metropolitan Films in France has the English audio, and the German release has also English audio. Unfortunately, this is a movie that was not released on DVD here in the UK. It's another like cult classic that for some reason it was not released here in the UK, but you guys can find on Amazon or eBay, and sometimes you'll get lucky. This one goes anything from £5 to 25, 30 pounds, but new, used, like new, but it's kind of easy to find. US, the Australian release, German, like French. Unfortunately, there is no UK release, so this still stuck on DVD, and I hope someone will put this one on the Blu-ray, because this one definitely deserves like a Blu-ray release or a 4K with new interviews with Sheldon Lettich, with Mark Dacascos, with Paco Prietoi. I'm sure they'll accept to do interviews because they do for other movies. It would be great if we could have like a HD release from this one with new interviews. That will be like amazing. And again, guys, let me know what you think about Only the Strong from 1993, starring Mark Dacascos, Paco Prietoi, Jeffrey Lewis, directed by the legendary Sheldon Lettich, all-time martial arts cult classic that I think is like super underrated, and I think, in my opinion, it's a great story, inspirational. I don't care what the critics said, that the story didn't work out. It's a trouble school formula that has been done before. I mean, it's great. The capoeira, like, showcasing capoeira to the world that you've never seen before. There's a lot of great fight scenes, a lot of great martial artists in this movie. So if you are a martial arts fan, this movie is 100% worth it. And because there is no Blu-ray release, if you want to get this DVD, go to Amazon, eBay, and you can find that German, French, like US, Australian DVD. It's the only way you can get it physically. And this one right here, I'm going to show you the picture quality. It looks just fine. It doesn't look as good, obviously, as the HD, because I have seen it like online, but this DVD looks great. It's widescreen. Actually, this one is like a double disc, because one side of the disc is you have the widescreen presentation, as you can see here, the main menu, and if you flip the disc, you have the 4:3 full screen presentation, so you can watch it on the widescreen. Obviously, it's like as it should be, like seen now with the new TVs. But if you're still nostalgic, you can just flip the disc and watch the 4:3 like full screen. And let me just show you here, like the main menu. As you can see here, you have the theatrical trailer as well, and here scene selection. This is a cool menu. And let me just put here Mr. Carrigan, as you can see there. Here you can see Jeffrey Lewis that plays Mr. Carrigan, and you can see there that guy that you know from Mark for Dead, that is like Jeffrey Anderson Gunter, right there. And let me just put here so you guys can see the picture quality if you guys like are interested in getting the DVD. And again, this is the logo from Fox, because again, this is a DVD that has been released a long time ago by Fox in the US. And again, this is the beginning of the movie, and you can see the picture quality looks great for a DVD. And you can see here the Dacascos, beginning of the movie. And this scene, and this guy right here, it's like Joselito Amen Santo, that is one of the top, like, masters, the top, like, capoeira masters in the world. You can see him also in Kickboxer 4, and he's the one that fight choreographed, and the guy that trained the Dacascos for the movie. Actually, the Dacascos had, like, an intensive, also, like, weightlifting program for this one. He put on some... Put on a few pounds to look like bigger, because usually the Dacascos is always like lean in his movies, and in this one is lean, but he packed on some muscle, and he trained as well, specifically on top of having to train the capoeira with Amen Santo. He also trained like with a professional like bodybuilder to put on some muscle mass to the movie. And again here, Jeffrey Lewis. And again, the picture quality looks great, guys. So there is no Blu-ray. So if you guys want to own this one in your collection, I mean, this is the only way for you guys to get it. And the picture quality looks like just fine. Let me just fast forward this here. Can show you a few more scenes so you guys can see the picture quality. And again, here you can see the guy that is like Silverio's cousin in the movie, or Orlando. And here is one of the scenes. You see Paco Prieto in a confrontation with the Dacascos in this scene, and you can see him here, the legendary Paco Prieto. As you can see here, they're about to start fighting, and then the police shows up. You can see here the Dacascos there, and again, the picture quality looks just fine for like a DVD, and it's the best way. There is no other way, to be honest, because there is no blue, and the picture quality looks just fine. And this is the final fight scene that the Dacascos fight is like Paco Prieto, end of the movie. So you see Louis Stevens against Silverio. And yeah, guys, this is like, I hope you have enjoyed this like review of Only the Strong from 1993, this cold martial arts classic directed by Sheldon Lettich and starring Dacascos and Paco Prieto. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think about Only the Strong. If this one was one of your favorites growing up as well. It was definitely one of my favorites growing up. Let me know what you think about this one. Hit that like button, comment down below, and as always, I'll be with you guys, bringing you all the action that you guys love from the 80s and from the 90s, and I'll be with you guys soon. Keep strong.